leadership. Did you know that you can still master speaking and communicating in a very concise manner, even when you're tired? Does this sound like I just made something up? Like I'm telling you this is a clickbait video? Well, it's not. In this video, I'm going to share with you how, even when you are tired, you can master concise communication so that you can stay calm and in control. Now, if this video sounds like something you're very interested in, then I encourage you to watch this video until the end because I'm going to share with you several strategies that will help you be able to still present yourself as that woman in leadership, to be at that next level in your career, because these are things that people don't talk about on YouTube in terms of how you can really communicate at that higher level. Now, I do want to mention very briefly that my target audience that I work with in terms of my client base is women in leadership. However, I have a lot of men in leadership that are subscribed to my channel as well. So I want to let you know that leadership transcends gender. And if you are a woman in leadership, a man in leadership, I'm here to support you on your journey, regardless of your gender. The strategies I'm going to share with you in my videos and on my channel really are from my over 20 years of experience as a C-suite executive, a manager, and a director that will help you to skyrocket and elevate how you are communicating and help you to stand out amongst your peers. The world needs amazing leaders like you today, and when you are trying to establish your executive presence, you have to be consistent all of the time. And what I'm going to share with you in this particular video is a great way for you to really start to establish this very important skill that you need to be that exceptional leader that everyone looks up to. Now, if you're watching this portion of the live video, you are actually watching the replay, and I appreciate you so much for spending some time with me today. There's typically a point in the live video where people will join. And when people join, give me just a few moments to say hello to everyone and greet them. And then we'll go right into what happens that can help you to be able to master concise communication even when you are tired. That will help you to stay in control. So you may be wondering, how can I be concise when I'm speaking and when I'm tired? How can this happen? Well, I'm going to talk to you about that in just a few moments. I want to say hello to those of you who have joined today. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Feel free to let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. I'm going to say hello to each and every one of you as you join. If you are wanting to learn how to master concise communication, even when you are tired, and no, this is not clickbait. I will show you how to master concise communication, even when you're tired, so you can stay calm. Then you absolutely want to watch this entire video and subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more. All right, so let me say hello. We have Evelina Silka. Evelina, hello, welcome, Evelina, hello. M. Dot, hello, welcome. We have Jaws Boy, welcome. Seeking Success, welcome. Seeking Success says, what is going on right now? Right now, I'm about to share with you over 20 years worth of experience to help you go to that next level in your career. And specifically today, I'm going to share with you, if you are tired, like I'm tired today, I'm going to share with you how you can speak concisely to continue to showcase your leadership skills and stand out from everybody else. So let me explain that to you in just a moment. James asking, where are you from? I'm from the United States, specifically in the Sunshine State of Florida. Feel free to let me know where you all are joining from today. All right, so I've said hello, and as other individuals join, I will say hello to you. Let me know if you all have questions as it relates to this topic. Have you ever been tired? Have you ever been tired and felt like, well, I wish that I was able to speak more concisely, even if I'm tired? Then this is the place for you. Feel free to ask me any questions as it relates to communicating. I'm here to support you on your journey. Now, Seeking Success is from Northern Cali. Hello, welcome. What part of Northern Cali are you from? I used to live in Sacramento a long time ago. So welcome. Glad you're here. Now, we'll start this off by saying that no, this is not clickbait. Okay, this is not clickbait at all. I don't do clickbait. I will tell you exactly, if you're tired, these are strategies you can use to help you be more concise in terms of how you are communicating. Now, before I go into that, let me go into the chat. I see something popped up. Seeking Success says, I'm out in Sonoma. Okay, fantastic. Awesome. It's a small world after all, right? Exactly. Well, let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to subscribe. If you like this information so far, I'm about to go into a lot of great strategies to help you speak concise when you're tired. Evelina is from Norway. Well, thank you for joining from Norway. Awesome. So glad that you're here today. Well, I want to start by saying you can, yes, you can as leaders communicate even when you're tired in a very concise way. And let me share with you why. So when you're tired, so I'll give you an example. I'm tired also. I'm tired specifically today. But when you're tired, you have to still be that same leader, that same person all the time. I talk about this a lot on my channel. If you're trying to develop your executive presence and really stand out as a leader, you have to be the same person, whether it's raining outside, thunderstorms, and be that same individual when the sun is shining and it's beautiful outside. You have to be the same person all the time. Now, when you're tired, sometimes it's hard to be the same person, right? You're exhausted, you're tired, you just don't know what to do. Well, the best way for you to be able to speak concisely when you are tired is to remember first, you have to conserve your energy. When you are exhausted and tired, you have to conserve your energy. And the best way for you to conserve your energy is by speaking only when you need to as a leader. Now, before I go into more detail on that, let me say hello to those who have joined. Ava Marie, hello, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here today. And the first part, Two Sides Crazy Kennel. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing today? Glad to see you. Feel free to let me know where you're joining from and get ready to learn some really, really great information, over 20 years worth of information that will help you. Now, before I go into that, let's see. Seeking Success said, okay, books that Seeking Success reads. Okay, so this is actually really great. So let me read off these books because I think these are very helpful for my audience to be able to have access to and know about. And then as soon as I'm done with this, I'll go into how you can conserve your energy when you're tired so that you're still communicating and speaking in a concise way. So Seeking Success, the books that Seeking Success is reading, the first is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a very good book. The second is Leaders Eat Less. Interesting, very interesting topic. The third is Dare to Lead. Very interesting. The fourth book is Good to Great. The fifth book is Extreme Ownership. The sixth is Start with Why. Very interesting. 7 is The Art of War. 8, I've heard a lot about The Art of War, actually. I've heard that's a very good book. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it in terms of strategy. And the 8th book is How to Win Friends and Influence. And yes, I knew that was influence. And number 9, The Lean Startup. I've heard that is a very good book also. And 10, Man's Search for Meaning. Okay, fantastic. Very good. You've read them all. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, I want to know from you, Seeking Success, while I'm going into these strategies, which one was your favorite book? Let me know. Art of War is great. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to actually read that. I'm going to put that on my list of books to read because I've heard people mention that book quite a bit. And I know it's Art of War, but there's a lot of strategy that goes into it as it is with anything, especially if you're building a business or you're working or you're a leader. Like I focus on my channel as communication and really very high level communication as it comes to leadership. So I think that's probably a really good book. So thank you. So is that your favorite book? That's what I want to know. Is Art of War your favorite book? Now, how you can conserve yourself and conserve your energy when you're tired and you still have to be that same leader that everybody sees. Speak when you need to speak. Absolutely have to say something. If there is a topic that you normally would talk to your team about and that would cause you to have to expend your energy and talk a lot more about it, then guess what? The days when you're tired, that's probably not the day you want to talk about that topic. So I would just stay quiet in that case. Because when you're tired, you have to conserve your energy. Even though your team may not know that you're exhausted, they may not know that you're tired, or maybe you didn't sleep well last night, maybe you had something happen where you're working late or you're dealing with something with a family member or your kids, then they don't have to know your personal business, but you can still conserve your energy so that you control what the conversation is and you can stay very calm in those situations. So first is conserve your energy. Conserve your energy, please. If there's a topic that you absolutely do not have to talk about that day, then don't talk about it. Believe it or not, this helps you to be more concise. When you think about leaders that you know. So let me know in the comments below, who are some of your favorite leaders that you like to watch and listen to? When you think of these individuals, what is it about them that draws you to them? Like, what do you like about this leader in terms of how they speak and how they talk and etc.? Well, one of the things you may want to think about when it comes to these leaders that you may like is how they speak. They probably speak in a very concise way. A concise way means they speak, they say what they need to say, and they don't ramble, they don't talk on and on forever. This is what concise speaking means. Now, this is really a great opportunity for you to be concise when you're speaking, because if you take a few moments to not say as much as you normally would, you are automatically not rambling, and you're not telling stories, and you're not just going off on the tangent. You are speaking in a more concise way, which is the reason why this is the very first strategy that I would recommend for you if you're tired, but you still need to communicate concisely and you want to master this skill. Now, I mentioned on this channel earlier, this is where we talk about real strategies, real techniques, and real situations. A lot of people on YouTube, when it comes to leadership, sometimes they'll talk more about philosophy and theories and leadership models and things like that. But on this channel, I'll talk about real situations. So being tired as a leader and still having to communicate concisely is real. This happens every single day, and people tend to struggle with it because when you're establishing your executive presence, you have to be that same person all of the time. And it takes just one moment, one time for you to do something that is not correct, or you do something that is out of character that will set your executive presence back many, many steps. And you don't want to do that. So you still have to be the same person even when you're tired. Now, the second strategy I'm going to share with you in terms of how you can still master concise communication even when you are actually very tired is to use silence. Now, I mentioned to you earlier about the topics. Conserve your energy. The best way is to really control what you are talking about so that you don't use too much of your energy. Now, silence itself is a skill that everyone watching this live video needs to put on your to-do list to learn how to master. Why? Mastering silence, meaning that you are comfortable with silence, is a skill that most people are not comfortable with doing. There is something about silence that feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable because we feel like there should not be silence. But if you can master silence, automatically you will be communicating at a very high, concise level because you are not speaking just for the sake of saying something. True leaders, real leaders that stand out from everybody else, master this skill. And if there is a few skills that I would tell you, if you're trying to elevate yourself as Seeking Success mentioned in terms of reading books, reading a lot of great books that will help you, I want to share with you a few skills you need to absolutely master. And then we'll go back into the topics on how to communicate concisely when you're tired. Mastering silence is way up there. It's at the top. You have to be comfortable with silence. If most people are not comfortable with silence, then the people that are comfortable with silence will automatically stand out. That's one. Eye contact is very, very, very important. If you've watched any of my videos and spent any time with me, and if you haven't, this is your first time, I would be appreciative of you just watching some videos of mine to help you. But watch out for my analogy as it relates to the cowboy. That will help you as it relates to eye contact. If you want to know about it, then feel free to watch some of my videos. Being able to master your verbal and nonverbal communication is important. So if you're trying to really elevate yourself as a leader, these are some very important skills that you have to master. Now, silence, as I mentioned, when you're tired, actually helps you to conserve your energy. So if you have a situation where you're trying to control what you're saying, you're trying to control your energy, you don't want to talk about topics that will cause you to talk a lot more than what you need to, or maybe these topics you're very passionate about, but you just don't have the energy this particular day to talk about it, then don't talk about those topics. But use your silence to help everyone know that you are highly focused. Most of the time when people notice that you are being more silent as a leader, they may say, oh, wow, he is working really hard today, or she is really doing a lot today. It's okay for you to use silence when you're tired. It helps you to be more concise as a communicator and as a leader because you're not speaking just to say you're saying something. Now, if this information has been helpful to you so far, then feel free to like this video. It actually helps more people to see the video here on YouTube, and it allows more individuals to become excellent communicators just like yourself. And especially if you're subscribed to this channel, I know you have been growing, and I know you've learned some skills from me to help you master how you're communicating. Now, my third and final strategy to help you master concise communication, even when you are tired and you're exhausted as a leader and you just have to just make it through this day, is one strategy that will absolutely help you to conserve your energy also. Are you ready? This strategy is to communicate in a very direct and polite way. What do I mean by this? When you're tired, you conserve your energy by controlling the conversations that are being had. Number one. Number two, we talked about using silence, becoming a bit more comfortable with silence, knowing that silence is a master skill that you want to establish. Now, being direct and being polite is another way to help you speak in a more concise way. When you are being direct, that means that you are saying whatever you need to say in a very concise, organized way. So for instance, if I'm tired, like I'm exhausted today, if I'm very, very tired, then if I needed something from someone, I would say, can you please get this particular product? Or would you be able to grab this? Or can you please contact this client? Or something along those lines. So if you use the words please and thank you in your direct communication, it softens it because you're tired. Remember, you're exhausted. You don't want to speak. You're just tired. But you do not want your team to feel that tired energy. You want to still just be yourself and still present yourself as the same person. Now, we all have days where things are great, things are maybe a bit more tough, but the skills that I'm sharing with you are ways that you can be able to showcase your executive presence consistently. And this, I will tell you, leaders, is one of the biggest reasons why people struggle with their executive presence is because they're not consistent. So even if you're tired, guess what? If you really want to showcase your executive presence and stand out as that exceptional and amazing leader that I know you want to be because you're watching this video, you have to be consistent regardless of what's going on. And that means you have to be consistent whether you are rested and full of energy or you are exhausted and your energy is down. It's gone. It's not even existent. You have to still be the same person. So if you're able to communicate in a more direct way, that's fine. Your shortness or more conciseness can be softened by having manners. Please, thank you, excuse me, and hello. Something polite, good morning, good afternoon. You can still soften your more direct, concise communication if you add manners to it. I would say add manners to your communication in general, but especially when you're tired. This is a great way for your teams to not feel that, oh, she's really tired today or he's really tired today and they're acting weird, they're acting mean. If you are able to still be very polite and use manners, it softens it a bit. So you could say, I'll give you an example. Let's say I need something and I tell somebody I need them to call a client. Okay, so let's say there's two different ways I could say it. I'm tired. Now this is what I want to say. Can you call this client? That's what I want to say in my mind. But that's not what I'm going to say because that sounds like an order and you don't want to communicate with people in that way. That sounds like an order. You don't want to do that. People don't want to be talked to in that way. So what I could say is, can you please contact this client for me? I said pretty much the same thing. Can you contact this client? But I softened it by saying please and for me. You're asking in a nice, polite way. This is a great way for you to be able to still communicate concisely even when you are tired. Now, I hope this information has been very helpful to you. I want to go into the chat and see what everyone else had to say. And if you have any questions, even if you're watching the replay about this topic, feel free to let me know. And if you're trying to really master concise communication and you're trying to just get a grasp of how you can not ramble and be more articulate, then this is the best place for you to be at right now. I share a lot of information that helps individuals to be able to go to that next level in their careers and to really elevate as leaders. And so if you want some assistance in terms of how you can communicate more concisely, then contact me for a strategy session. It's in the description below. Feel free to schedule a time so that you and I can have a conversation about where you are and where you want to be and how we can develop a strategy to help you get to that next level in your career. Oftentimes, concise communication is something that many leaders struggle with. Women in leadership struggle with this. Men in leadership struggle with this because it's a skill that is not taught in a textbook when we're going through our educational settings as leaders. And when I talk to clients, and as I mentioned earlier, my focus predominantly when I'm working with clients is women in leadership, but I have other people that are present that are men in leadership on my channel and on some of my platforms, and I'm here to support everybody regardless of gender. So this is something that people tell me all the time they really do genuinely struggle with. How can I be more concise? What can I do? What can I do? And etc. So this is really a great way for you to elevate yourself as leaders and get to that next level in your career. So let me take a look at the chat really quickly. So Seeking Success, sorry, got a call. I'm at the firehouse. Oh, no problem. No problem at all. I just appreciate you Seeking Success being present and sharing information about the 10 books that you have read and that we all should take a look at, Art of War, which is fantastic. I've heard a lot about that book, and as I mentioned earlier, I've heard a lot about the book. For those of you who are just joined, that it's a pretty good strategy book to really think about. So I appreciate Seeking Success for being here and sharing that information. Those are some really great books, and I'm actually going to go back to our live and write some of those down because I'm always ready to learn, just like anyone else. I do genuinely believe the more information you read, especially books, it truly does help you develop as a professional. This is something that you absolutely want to be able to do when you're trying to go to that next journey. All right, so we have, let's see, Two Sides Crazy Kennel said hello again. And yes, so we have another person that says, Angelica. Hello, Angelica. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here today. And Angelica, I appreciate that. She said, don't listen to the chat. Yeah, someone said something inappropriate, which is, I'm not worried about. This is more of a very serious conversation. If you are really serious about trying to elevate how you communicate as a leader to be promoted, to go to that next level, to earn more income, then this is the place where you want to be. If you're talking about silly things that don't make sense, this is not the place for you. There's other channels on YouTube that talk really about some nonsense, but my channel here is very serious because I'm serious about communication. I've been doing this for over 20 years as a C-suite executive, a manager, and a director, a public speaker, and an executive coach. So I've spent and invested a lot of time and energy to really help my audience to be able to elevate themselves as leaders because the world needs exceptional leaders just like you all today. And so this is more of a serious channel. It's not a channel about nonsense. So Angelica, I appreciate you so much for saying don't listen to the chat. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you. Angelica said they're being disrespectful. Yes, exactly. And Angelica said, I've read it about 3 times and it is very good. Are you talking about The Art of War? Is that the book that you're talking about, Angelica, that you've read 3 times? If so, then I definitely am going to be putting that at the top of my list of books to read. So I appreciate that. And Angelica, let us know where you're joining from. And if you have any questions specifically in terms of how to communicate in a more concise way, I'm here to support you on your journey. One of the challenges that come up is concise communication, but there's a lot of other things that come up specifically as leaders and as women in leadership that we deal with every day, especially as women. There's a lot of times where we have multiple responsibilities going on and we tend to be very tired, but we still have to communicate at that very concise way to project ourselves as the leaders that we want to be known as. Now, if you've had any challenging situations that have happened to you as a leader professionally, Let me know in the comments below. If you're watching the replay of this video, feel free to let me know. I will record a video and give you a shout out in the video if it's a topic that you want to talk about. So for instance, I've had a couple of topics come up. One we did yesterday for the forensic accountant that talked a bit more about what you do when your boss takes credit for your idea. So definitely, if this has ever happened to you, you want to check that out. I've had one before that I've done with Yogesh that talked a bit more about communicating and being able to communicate in more challenging situations. So I do videos like this for my audience all of the time. And if you have a topic specifically that you want to learn more about, then let me know in the comments below. I will do a video just for you. And I typically work with people that are dealing with more complicated situations. So this is just my realm of expertise. I deal with more challenging things. I've spent time in very friendly and very contentious situations. So I have the ability to just deal with more complex communication challenges, office politics, situations that come up when you're trying to be promoted, etc. So if you need help with hard things and hard communication as a professional, will be able to help you for sure. All right, let me say hello to Ahmed. All right, hello, welcome. How are you doing today? I'll say Ahmed has a question, and I hope I said your name correctly. If I did not, let me know. Okay, the question is, how can I speak English like a native speaker? This is actually a very good question, and I appreciate you so much for asking that, because my channel specifically focuses more on communication skills. So if you have not, if this is I think this is your first time I'm seeing you on live, so welcome, glad you're here. Let me know what part of the world you're joining from. But what I do on my channel is I focus more on communication. So if you're trying to learn how to communicate and speak English like a native speaker, then subscribing to my channel is probably a great way for you to do that. And I'm not saying that just because I want you just to, I'm just saying just subscribe, but I mean that in all sincerity, because when you're trying to speak English like a native speaker, you have to speak with people that are speaking English like native speakers, and you have to listen to them in terms of how they're speaking and talking and etc. And one of the great ways to do that is, of course, here on YouTube, there's a ton of people here that obviously are speaking different languages, but specifically if you want to help with English, this is what I do here. I will say specifically on my channel, Ahmed, is that I work specifically with those higher level communication skills, so more advanced level communication skills. So if you are in a situation where you're trying to learn more about speaking English as a native speaker, this is a great place for you to be, because you're going to sharpen your skills in terms of how you are communicating as an English, in terms of being a native English speaker, because I'm speaking about more advanced level skills and how you can communicate at a higher level. There's a lot of channels on here that will probably talk about maybe more layman's terms or more slang in terms of how they communicate. That's not what I focus on my channel. I focus on very polished communication, very concise communication like we're talking about today, and really communicating at that higher level than your peers. So if you're trying to maybe refine how you're communicating, specifically as it relates to being or speaking as a native English speaker, then feel free to subscribe to my channel. My channel focuses in on women in leadership, but my channel has men in leadership as well. And so leadership and communication transcends all genders. And so regardless, I'm here to support you on your journey. And if you have questions specifically, then feel free to let me know, and I will be happy to answer any questions, do a video for you, and give you a shout out in the video also, so that you're able to learn a bit more about it. That's the best way I can tell you, is you have to listen to people that are actually speaking English natively in conversational dialogue to pick up on different words that we say. There's obviously, every culture has their level of slang that they say, but just keep in mind, the more that you listen and the more interaction you have, the more you start to become more versed in speaking like a native English speaker. There's different programs out there, just let me know what you're working on right now, that help to teach English, but the way to really learn how to speak English like a native speaker is to be around them. I can say I speak Spanish, and I've done Spanish. The only way I was able to learn Spanish was that I spent a lot of time in my undergraduate program. Well, in high school, I took 1 semester of Spanish. In undergraduate, I took 4 years of Spanish. And I did that by choice because I wanted to learn. What I found, Ahmed, is that even though I learned Spanish in college, until I was at a place where I could speak Spanish and hear it and be around people that speak it every day, was when I started to pick it up quickly. Now, I don't speak as much now, but I know conversationally, if I hear it, I know it. And that's something I'm actually working towards to get back into where I was many years ago. But for me specifically, when I did my general practice residency in Bronx, New York, I was around a lot of individuals that spoke Spanish in my residency program where I was in, because I'm a doctor. And they spoke Spanish all the time. I picked up on a lot of different words to say in Spanish and how to communicate to people in Spanish. So I'm saying this to you as am I a native Spanish speaker? No, I'm not. I'm a native English speaker. But there's ways for you to learn another language and become more native in terms of how you communicate. But the best way to do it is just to surround yourself with people that are communicating that way. Listen to how they communicate and try to pick up on things that they're saying. That's just from my very humble opinion. That is something that helped me out tremendously to be able to pick up on Spanish. And I was just kind of thrown into a situation where I had to listen to people speak Spanish. I had to communicate to individuals that were speaking in Spanish, and I had to listen very carefully to what they were saying and their facial expressions and how they were communicating. This is something that is very important on my channel. Verbal communication, nonverbal communication, your body language, how you are saying words, what you are saying in terms of your language is what I specifically focus on here. So I hope that answers your question in terms of how you can start to speak like a native speaker. I appreciate you for joining, and I hope you subscribe, because this will be a great place for you to learn a lot more. All right, so Ahmed said, you speak so fast, which accent you speak? Okay, so I speak English, believe it or not, and my accent, most people ask me about, I have a blend of accents because I've actually lived in different parts of the United States. So in the United States, you may see everyone speaks English, just like in England, people in the UK, people speak English also, but there's different dialects and accents depending on where you are from. So for instance, myself, I've lived in multiple places in the United States. So my traditional accent is not what it normally would be. I've lived in multiple places, so my accents have combined to make who I am today. So there's some words that I may say in a very Southern accent because I'm from the South, but then I've lived a lot of my time in DC and in Bronx and in New York and etc. And so my accent somewhat goes away. It just depends on who I'm talking to and who I'm around. So that's the answer to the question about that. Okay, so Ahmed said, I can understand English, but when I try to speak it, I can't. So why is that? Well, it's a matter of just continuing to practice, Ahmed. Really continue to practice. And I say this from my perspective as being a native English speaker that learned how to speak Spanish. It's practicing is key. Practicing. Finding a really good person that can partner with you and help you be able to learn the language is always a great way to help. That helped me when I was in undergraduate. When I did Spanish for 4 years, I did that for 4 years because I had a teacher teach me Spanish and teach me how to say certain words. But as I mentioned, I knew the words, but I didn't really know how to really say them until I was exposed to being in a more Spanish environment in New York, where I had to learn and hear what they said and practice what they said. So if you're trying to speak English right now and you feel like it's difficult, don't be discouraged, okay? Don't be discouraged. Just keep trying, keep going for it, and keep practicing. The more you practice, the more it will start to flow with you. And then, of course, having those conversations with individuals, listening to some of the content I have on my channel, because I do talk more at a higher level in terms of communication, that will be a great way for you just to keep practicing, keep talking and saying what you need to say. What I've found is that there's many people I interact with that may say just what you said. They may say, I can't say English that well. But when I hear them and I'm listening to myself, I'm a native English speaker. I know exactly what you're saying. So you may be giving yourself a bit more of a harder time than you think. That happens a lot. And I'll tell you that I've seen that more oftentimes than not, that people will be in a situation where they kind of feel internally there's something about how they're communicating. And I'm coming from this from a executive coaching standpoint, okay? But people will have this feel in their mind that they're just not confident. They're not confident speaking English because they feel like they can't. But in actuality, they may speak it a lot better than what they think they do. So you may be in that category I'm in. You may be in that category where you speak a little better than what you think you do. So the fact that you're trying to learn English is great. It's always great to learn another language. I have a couple languages that I want to learn outside of Spanish, but Spanish is the one I'm trying to work on a bit more now because I already have a history of it. And so I'm just trying to do better with it. But just keep in mind, you may not be as far off as you may think you are. Continue to practice and just keep speaking to people in English as best as you can. And then just following people and having that dialogue with someone to help you be able to speak is a great way to start. So Ahmed said, do you speak Arabic? I do not speak Arabic. I don't. But there was a point in time where I considered learning the language many years ago. There's a couple languages that I've been wanting to learn. Arabic was on my list many years ago, and then I transitioned to Spanish. So I don't speak Arabic, but I do believe that it is a great language to learn because there's a lot of things in it. It's very different in terms of how you communicate, in terms of your writing and etc. So I just think it's very, very interesting. That's just my very, very humble opinion. But great questions. I mean, really great questions. I appreciate you so much for sharing your insight in terms of how you're trying to communicate more and be a native English speaker. This is where we are right now as it relates to concise speaking when you're tired. So this is something that I share with you in terms of how you can communicate. So I hope to see you on another live or interact with you in the comments here on my channel. Feel free to learn from my over 20 years of experience as a C-suite executive, a manager, a director, a public speaker, and executive coach to really help you elevate yourself in terms of how you're communicating in the English language, because I would definitely be able to provide you with some good insight here. Okay, so Ahmed said, thank you so much for your help. Oh, helping me? Of course, absolutely. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to support you on your journey as best I can. We're in the virtual world, and on this channel, I really do focus on more real scenarios and real situations that happen. Just as you mentioned, there's many people out there that are trying to learn English and they're just trying to figure out, well, how can I speak like a native English speaker? Just like for me, I'm learning Spanish. I have a pretty good knowledge of it, but I still want to be able to communicate like a native Spanish speaker. So this is something that we're doing, and the fact that you're trying to learn and grow says a lot about you and your leadership in terms of what you're trying to do. So this will be a great place for you to join if you want to learn, because this is the place where we talk about learning as it relates to being a leader. And I know you join a bit later toward the end of the live, but if you want to take a look, I'm not sure how you are with reading English just yet, but there were a couple books that Seeking Success mentioned in the live today that are very good personal development books. I haven't read all of them, but we were just having a dialogue conversation about The Art of War and a few other ones. So you may want to go back to the live. It wasn't too far in the live, but Seeking Success mentioned about 10 books they may be in different languages too, or they may be in English. I know most of them are probably in English for sure, but it might be a good place for you to read, because these type of books are not your like comic books, science fiction books that you would read just for entertainment. The books that Seeking Success mentioned were books that will actually help you to grow here in your mind. So if you're trying to communicate at that higher level as someone who's trying to learn English as a native speaker, then watching and reading books that are helping you to communicate, helping you to really learn and strategize at a higher level will be very helpful to you. As I mentioned, Seeking Success mentioned 10 books. 10 books that Seeking Success had read. We talked about those. So you might want to just check those out. That may be very beneficial to you for what you're trying to do. I'm just trying to think of ways to like help you just grasp that native English language that you're trying to be able to speak. And reading books, but not reading just any books. I would highly recommend to read books that are going to make you smart. That's just my humble opinion. You can always read entertainment books. There's out there for sure. But if you really are trying to go to that next level, which is what I do here on my channel, I'm trying to grow and help develop leaders to help our world in the future, because we need leaders. We need strong leaders that are able to communicate. I say on my channel all the time, people become great by how they communicate. And if you can communicate at that level, at that higher level, then you're going to be great. You will be. And learning is a big part of it. Reading is a big part of it. There's podcasts out there. There's YouTube channels like mine. Well, there's not a YouTube channel like mine. Let me say that. There's not a YouTube channel like mine because I have my own unique skill set. But there's different channels out there that help with communication, that help with leadership also. So there's a lot of great resources out there to help you get to where you want to be. It's just a matter of what do you want to do first, and try not to overwhelm yourself, because when you're trying to learn and you're trying to become a more native speaker, there's a lot of things out there. Just the most important thing I would say to start with is just speaking English and just watching and learning as much as you can. Having conversations with people in English is a great way to start. Okay, so Ahmed said, yes, Arabic grammar is so hard to the point where speakers, we can't understand it. Really? So it looks very, it's just different. I mean, it's for me as an native English speaker, when I see Arabic looks, it's different. It seems like there's symbols, but I know those symbols mean words, and they have their own connotation to them, I would say, or words to them. So that's interesting to know that sometimes it's hard to even learn. Sometimes in English there's words and there's phrases that are said that are complicated to understand. So I think every culture has their own way of saying words that even the people that are in the culture are wondering, like, how do you say this, or what does this mean? I know, for instance, for myself, I'm from the South. There's words that they say in the South that if I said them to someone here, let's say that lived in the North, and I'm in Florida, but let's say if I had this same conversation with someone in the North that was in New York where I used to live, they would look at me like, what are you saying? But it is a cultural word that is said in the South versus the same way in New York. There's words that people say in New York that if they said it to me, well, I know them now, but if they said it to me and I had not lived in New York, I would wonder, what are they talking about? So it's just very interesting how different cultures are different, but even within the culture, the language is different. Okay, so Ahmed said, how many languages do you speak? I technically speak English, but I will say I do speak Spanish also. So I'm only 2 languages. I know very, very little French, just like 1 or 2 words, that's it. But I would say for sure English and some Spanish. Those would be the languages I speak, but I'm not fluent in Spanish like I should be, because I was not able to be around a lot of people that spoke Spanish after I left my residency. Now I'm in Florida, so I have the ability to pick that back up, and I probably will. So those are the languages that I speak right now. So thank you for asking. What other languages do you speak? I saw Arabic, and you're working on your English. What other languages did you speak? Let me know. So while we're waiting for Ahmed to respond, I do want to mention that I have a couple other videos that you may want to check out if this is your first time watching my video here. I have videos that are talking about how to think on your feet, patience and leadership, mastering your body language, how to be more concise in your interviews, and etc. So these are great books for you to take a look at to help you on your journey. So we have someone join the chat. We have Kushrag. If I said your name wrong, I'm so sorry. So sorry. But I welcome you. Thank you for being here today. What is this topic going on? Well, Kushrag, we actually were talking about how to master concise communication even when you are tired, so that you still staying calm. So we talked a bit about that. We actually have digressed a bit, and we're talking more about individuals who are trying to learn how to speak as native English speakers, and we're talking a bit more about communication in higher levels. So if you are wanting to know a bit more about how to really communicate at a higher level, then learn from my over 20 years of experience as a C-suite executive, a manager, a director, and a public speaker to elevate how you are communicating in your career or in your field. This is my focus here, is higher level communication, not just regular leadership. I'm here to build exceptional leaders that are the people that stand out from everybody else. So if this sounds like something you like, Chris Rock, if you have any questions for me, feel free to let me know. But I'm glad you're here, and welcome. If you like the information, feel free to watch the live and ask me any questions that you have if you're trying to elevate yourself as a leader in the world. Okay, Ahmed said, can you tell me what are the apps that you use to learn languages? Well, believe it or not, I haven't. There's apps out there, and it's interesting that you say that. If you are on another live, I will find out for you. My daughter has an app that she has been using to learn different languages, and I don't know what it is. I just know that she was trying to tell me words in Russian the other day, and I don't know Russian. And there's an app that she uses, but I don't know it at the moment. I personally haven't used apps to learn just because I've spent more of my time in the educational setting, and I'm doing more conversational speaking in terms of Spanish, as we talked about earlier. But I'm not exactly sure what app my daughter has. She's got some app where she's learning different languages. So when I find it out, I'll do another live. I'll plan on, this is what I'll do. I go live Tuesday through Friday every week. And what I will do is I'm going live tomorrow. I know I'm going live tomorrow unless something catastrophic happens and I can't make it, which is unlikely at this point. But I will find out what app she's using, and I'll mention it tomorrow during my live. And I'll mention it pretty early on during the live so that you have that information, because I don't know what app she's using. My daughter's younger, so I'm not exactly sure what app she's using right exactly at the moment. So I'm going to, okay. Okay, well, I'm going to get off here because my kids have just interrupted my live, but I appreciate you all being present with me today, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.